COVID-19 and Ebola, two diseases that were making headlines everywhere. Both diseases gained a lot of attention worldwide. However, as we know, COVID had a much bigger impact on our lives. Unlike Ebola, COVID pretty much shut everything down. We had to stay inside for months, and it changed our way of life temporarily. Now, despite both of these diseases making headlines, why didn't Ebola have the same effect on the world? I'm AJ, and today we'll be getting into that. So firstly, we'll look at COVID. For many, the symptoms were similar to the flu. So things such as coughing, sneezing, things like that. Some people maybe didn't even exhibit any symptoms. As a result, many who are infected with COVID could go on about their daily life without even noticing anything wrong. This means that they'd still be mixing with people and as a result spreading their disease to others. However, unfortunately, what may be something that feels like a minor cold to some is lethal to others. So I'll just use an example. One person may barely be exhibiting symptoms. They're supposed to meet their friends today. They think it's pointless to cool off just because of something that feels like a cold. They meet up with their friends. As a result, they spread COVID to all of their friends. Friend 1 and 2 may also be fine and repeat the cycle. Friend 3 may be asthmatic. And as a result of this, COVID may end up making them seriously ill, maybe even killing them. But as for the other two, they're able to continue the cycle and spread the disease to others that they know. And even person 1, that group of friends aren't the only people that they could potentially spread the disease to. Like, they'd possibly spread disease to others on the same bus or train as them, maybe a shopkeeper, like many people that you could come into contact with in your daily life that you could spread COVID to. Now let's compare this with Ebola. Ebola had much more severe symptoms, some of which include sickness, diarrhea, fever, fatigue, and even bleeding from the eyes, ears, and mouth. So, why is this important? Well, someone who caught Ebola is going to feel seriously ill. They're not even going to be able to leave their house. There is no, this is just a minor cold. There is no opportunity for thinking that Ebola is just a fake disease when you have it. If you had Ebola, you needed to go to the hospital. Now, as a result of this, someone with Ebola isn't going to be going out and meeting people as they're too ill to do that. As a result, they either go to the hospital and are treated, or they stay at home and possibly die, killing Ebola with it. As a result of this, Ebola made you too sick to spread the disease to others. So essentially, one of the reasons Ebola didn't cause a pandemic is because the disease symptoms were too severe for people to go out in public and spread it. Now, to add on to the point of symptoms, Ebola's symptoms also makes it easier to track. So as an epidemiologist, for example, let's say you're trying to track the number of cases of Ebola, it's a lot easier to track Ebola because of the symptoms. The symptoms and the fact that pretty much everyone would be sick makes it very easy to tell apart who has the disease and who doesn't. This means it's easier to separate those people and get them the treatment that they need. Compare this with COVID, where a lot of the symptoms are very similar to, let's say, a cold or a flu, and some don't even have symptoms. That way, it's a lot harder to tell apart who's actually sick with COVID and who is only sick with a common cold or who just has hay fever. As a result, you need to put a lot more people in lockdown because potentially anyone could be infected with COVID. But another reason COVID caused an entire pandemic is because of the way in which both diseases spread. COVID spread through respiratory droplets, which means potentially anyone in your vicinity, if you had COVID, could catch COVID. Whereas Ebola mainly spread through bodily fluids, and you're less likely to come into contact with someone's bodily fluids compared to respiratory droplets. So, to conclude, Ebola's severity of symptoms makes it both easier to track and harder to spread. Additionally, Ebola spreading through bodily fluids means that it's not as infectious as COVID. All of these factors combined made COVID-19 much more effective at causing a worldwide pandemic compared to Ebola. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you found this interesting. Please like and subscribe for more.